I think I have developed some very specific go-to strategies that help me when I'm in those moments of I'm in a new job, it's overwhelming, I'm not sure how to be successful, there's a lot of pressure on. I have some go-to strategies that I use time and time and time again that have been very effective, and they've allowed me to feel confident to tackle new opportunities and new jobs and new strategies. And for me, Steve, it has never, ever been about, I never had this vision of like climbing a career ladder. I never had a plan. I wanted to do cool things with cool people, and I wanted to be challenged. And I knew that there was going to be a struggle in that challenge. And I knew that there was going to be some hardship in that challenge, but I really felt like that was important for me as a human to be able to give back to the world around me.
Well, what a cliffhanger. Suzanne, you just said that you have some real things that you do to help you through, and you didn't even go through them. So before I have you do that, because as a podcast creator, I'm really impassioned about, I didn't want to just create a show to have people come on and be very transparent and talk about the anxiousness, talk about the moments that feel overwhelming, and it's just a therapy session for you and I going back and forth. It helps somebody feel connected, but it doesn't help them get better. I am a
Mm-hmm.
super big person on practical takeaways. So, like, let's address problems. Let's be honest about the things that sometimes life is unfair, things happen. But then, like, what are the practical things that we do? And I think what you just even did. And so, get ready because I'm going to come to you with what those things that Susanne Thompson has figured out. But I think what you've done is allowed people to understand that if you feel anxious, you could be the most successful you've ever been and still feel a level of angst. Because as Allison and I talked about in her episode, as you climb up in the success ranks, it feels more lonely. It feels more isolated.
Mm-hmm.
There's more on your shoulders because there's more expected of you. And it's never just a time that you coast. And I think sometimes, if we're not careful, as parents, as spouses, in our business, we go through seasons of life that are challenging. And we kind of tell ourselves as a way of coping with it, when I get through this season,
Mm-hmm.
XYZ, you fill in the blank, or in this next season of life, when this thing happens to me, when my kids are just a little bit older and a little bit more mature, then we'll have more quality family time. When my spouse and I are able to do this, then we'll be more connected to each other. When the pay starts to go up and finances start to increase, then we'll be able to do XYZ. And those are true, but they're also
Mm-hmm.
pitfalls if we're not careful, because we can convince ourselves that life is going to be better in the next season of life and rob the current season that we're in, the
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that are presenting itself to us to grow and to be shaped by them. And so when I talk with all of these people, not just you, but musicians and athletes and Peloton instructors, the common theme has been that like life sometimes is really unfair. You get thrown curveballs that you never
Mm-hmm.
expected, but it's more so what you do with those situations, which makes some people, when you look back, seem like, man, how did you crush life the way that you did? And then there's other people that are just victims the rest of their life. You had just prefaced a couple minutes ago that there are some real things that you've done in these seasons of life to kind of work through them. Why don't you start to kind of walk us through what some of those are, and we'll kind of take them one piece at a time. And I might ask some follow-up questions as you go through them.
Oh, awesome. I am super excited to share. And I'm curious to keep listening to your podcast and keep hearing the great insights from other guests as well too. So let's get practical. So a couple things that I do every single day that are habits and routines that are always helpful to me. And they are pretty darn simple, which I like. I like keeping things simple. So, one of the things that I do every day is I start by making sure I'm taking a deep breath. That might sound simple, but it does a lot to sort of loosen my mind and my thoughts and help me feel confident in being able to tackle, to your good point, whatever comes at me this day, which might be the plan I have set out for the day, or it might not be the plan I have set out for the day. The other thing I do when I'm thinking about I've got a scope of work to tackle, I've got a problem to tackle, or I've got a big project coming up. One of the very first things I do is I take 25 minutes and I focus. If you're not a fan of the Pomodoro technique, I would encourage anybody to look at the Pomodoro technique. I think it's been a fantastic technique for me. I believe that when our minds and when we give ourselves the ability to have our minds focus, we actually can accomplish anything we need to do in a fraction of the time that we need to do it. I think that in the world we live in today, time is also a challenge. We wrestle with time constantly as parents, as adults, as children, as workers. And in my opinion, time is the one thing that doesn't change. Time is a constant variable every single day. So it's all about how I use that time. It's time is not the problem. If I'm having a problem, it's probably me. So I focus for 25 minutes every morning. And I use that time period to say to myself, what are the three things that I want to accomplish today that if I don't accomplish today, I'm going to like feel bummed at the end of the day about? And sometimes those three things are totally related to my personal life. Sometimes those three things are totally related to my professional life. Sometimes those three things are a combination of my personal and professional life. But doing that for me every day allows me to be clear about how I want to present myself, how I want to think about my day, and how I want to think about being productive. So I start my day every morning doing that, and it's very purposeful. I don't use more than 25 minutes, and I actually set a timer. Little timer on my cell phone, set the 25 minutes, and I don't pay attention to anything else during that time period. I don't have notifications going off. My phone isn't ringing during that time period. I have nothing that's distracting my mind during that time period. And it allows me to really think deeply. And here's what happens over those 25 minutes. I start with the three things that I want to accomplish and I want to feel good about for the day. And then I say, but is that really what will make me feel good at the end of the day? That little brain exercise allows me to be very clear and honest with myself about one, what can I accomplish during the day? What is going to be meaningful? What is going to make the biggest impact on my organization, my employees, my colleagues, my clients during that day? And what's going to have the most benefit to me or my family during that day in order to allow me to bring my best self to the table every day for my job or my family or my friends. So that 25-minute focus strategy, and that is what I use first thing in the morning. And I don't stop using that strategy over the course of the day. I use my 25-minute strategy many times throughout a day. And there could be a day where I use it once. And then there could be another day where I use it 4 or 5 times. There's no recipe to it. It's about what I need. So when I'm facing a big project and I'm at the start of a big project, and maybe it's a big, hairy project, there's a ton of variables, the timeline is tight, there's a lot of people involved, the stakes are high, we've got to get a lot accomplished. I start with that 25-minute focus period and say, how do I think about organizing this project? Who do I need to talk to? What are the things that I don't know already? What should I read to increase my knowledge about this project? Who are my experts who know a heck of a lot more about this project or parts and pieces of this project than I do? So who are some of the people that I can count upon as being great thought partners in helping me accomplish something? So the reason I use that 25 minutes and I don't think about anything else during that time period other than the very narrow focus that I'm trying to solve for, the problem or the project that I'm trying to solve for, is that every single time I've done that, Steve, I've found that in 25 minutes, my brain, by allowing my brain to be focused, I'm able to make more progress in that 25 minutes than I am if I spend 6 hours with distractions and like phone calls or beeps happening or text messages coming in.